So, Rosalie, what does poetry do for you?
Actually, I brought a quote tonight. And the quote says, "Poetry prevents everybody from feeling lonely." And it's by Nikki Giovanni. And I think that's what it does for me. I mean, that's how I started out writing. I was 17 and my father died, and I started writing poetry to get over that loss and that grief, to help me with it.
And that is a common theme of poetry, is loss. That is one of the common themes that you'll see repeated in poetry. Has poetry helped all your writing?
It has, because the thing with poetry is, and I don't usually try to work in forms, but it helps your writing to become more concise, to look at that imagery and to find that concise image. And you sometimes have to go through and you have to pair out words to make it fit or to make it flow better. And so that helps you with all of your writing, because it helps you to take out those unnecessary words and to look for those images, the most important ones, that will convey a feeling.
So are you one of those poets that always carries a notebook with you?
Sometimes I do. Mostly I like to walk, and I like to think about things inside of me when I'm walking. And so in my head, I write poems as I walk.
And then you remember them? See, I can't do that. I don't remember them.
I don't always remember them word for word, but I come home sometimes and I'll sit down and I'll actually start writing. I'll have the first few lines down that I've repeated over and over, and some of the images, and then it might not come out the same way I was thinking it, but I often do that with walking or writing or hiking out in nature and then coming back and writing a poem.
How many poems do you think you do a year? I'm just curious. Because you're pretty prolific.
I'm not that prolific, though, because of teaching. That's hard to do when you're grading papers. But I'm going to say... Yes, very hard to do. I'm going to say, right now, I started something called the Sunday Poems, and my goal was to write a poem every Sunday for the whole year. And then I kind of strayed from that, and this last week I wrote a poem a day. So my goal for this month is to write a poem a day. Ooh. Kind of like a mini NaNoWriMo, like what they do in November for the novel writing. I was going to try and do that with my poems this month for some reason.
Do those poems have a theme, or it's just what comes to you that day?
Just what comes to me that day. But they're kind of about nature and love and loss, kind of. Yeah.
And I noticed snow.
And snow, yes. And I've been posting.
You have a lot of raw material for that kind of poetry this year.
I've been posting them on my Facebook page.
Right.
So if you're my friend, you can read that. They're not too edited, so I may have to go back and edit some of them.
Well, that's one of the things that poets do, too. It's like playwrights. They edit.
Yeah. Yes.
They edit their poems, which is surprising to some people. You read poet 20 years apart, it might read differently.
But they've gone back and tinkered, eh?
I have to stop myself from going back to my published work and wanting to tinker around and change things again. Because once it's published, I like to feel it's done, although I found myself going back and changing things.
Mark Twain once said the difference between the right word and the almost right word is the difference between lightning and lightning bug.
Yes, I love that quote.
So if you feel you've got the wrong word in there, you want to go change it.
I love that quote.
Are there any particular poets that have inspired you?
Mary Oliver. She writes about nature.
Sure.
She's just a wonderful poet. And then there's a Michigan poet, Judith Minty.
Oh, yeah.
I've always loved her.
She's been writing poetry, I bet, 5 decades?
Yes.
So, yeah.
She's, I think, in her late 70s now.
Yeah.
But I knew her in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and I was in workshops with her. And she's helped me a lot. She's workshopped some of my poems back when I was just a girl. and she was teaching conferences up there. So.
Was there anybody else? I know you like to read American Indian poetry.
I do, and I like Joy Harju.
Yep.
She's one of my poets that I've always liked. I've actually met many of these poets when I was a student at Northern Michigan University, so I met her there. Those are great opportunities to meet people.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I think that anybody that's at least the least been interested in poetry should go to these things like at MSU and meet the people, because I mean, you can meet. I mean, last year the poet laureate was there. You could have spent an hour with her.
Wow.
I mean, and to meet those kind of individuals in a very casual way, you can't always do that with famous authors.
The poet
but you can
laureate,
poets.
The poet laureate of
United States.
The United States.
Wow. We don't have one in Michigan, do we?
No, we won't go there. But I'm going to post that story again. It was vetoed by a guy named Engler, something like that.
It begins with V.
Yeah. But if you put it, the correct, when you type it in, it always wants to correct it, Angler.
They actually have a little competition going on to have a poet laureate of the Upper Peninsula, though.
That's pretty cool.
They do. Oh, that's cool.
There's going to be some fisticuffs there. That's interesting.
We should have a poet laureate for the state, though. Is there any hope to revive that idea?
We do a lot of stupid stuff. I mean, that we don't need. I mean, I think that just sends a good message to poet laureate that it's kind of special.
Yeah.
We don't have to pay them. They hardly pay the U.S. poet laureate anything.
I think it's
Like
almost an honor.
$10,000 or something. Yeah, it's an honor, and they can do whatever they want.
They pay a lot more than that for graduation speakers, as we've learned.
Oh golly, we could have a poet for a graduate. Well, we have had
Have we?
Angelou, but they paid her a lot of money.
Oh.
But she sang too.
Oh, that's right.
That was
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So, would you be interested in reading a poem for us?
I will.
That would be good.
So what I thought I'd do is there's a little publication out there, a broadside called the Michigan Poet, and this poem is supposed to be coming out from the Michigan Poet, so I don't think he'd mind if I read it. And it's something called New Year's Day. And it's actually about new starts and about writing. So, sun circles our yard for a moment, making the snow sparkle, what little of it there is, while the dog orbits its perimeter, his small realm of acorns, squirrels, and branches sheared off by icy winds. The first day of this new year still holds promise. Nothing has been denied, the word no, not even shaped by tongues or lips. There are other promises for this fresh-faced time baby, other words held within like precious seeds in a jack pine cone, waiting for the raging crown fires of northern summers to release them to earth. I resolve to open my heart to pure vibrating vowels, subjects unexplored, sentences that will germinate once the ground cools. Even as I write this, I feel the heat penetrating through the marrow of my deepest bone.
We're supposed to.
Nice. Yeah.
That's great.
And one thing that I didn't say in this poem is it doesn't take a fire to spread the seeds of the jack pine. It can take a really hot day. The sun pops them. Something not too many people know.
That's when you sneeze.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your second poem?
My second poem, if you want me to read it, is the one that's going to appear tomorrow.
Wednesday, April 1st.
April 1st, okay. And it's a poem about my daughter from my chapbook, a postcard from my mother, which was published with Finishing Line Press. And I tend to write about my daughter quite a bit, and it's intermingled nature, daughter. It's called Walking with My Unborn Daughter. So this was written a while ago when I was in graduate school.
She's in her 20s?
She's 22.
Wow.
Yeah. Should I admit that? She's 22 now. This was 1993. I walk into the wind along the lake, breathing in the season as it folds its wings around me like the great Scropia moth that once cast its shadow over the light on my grandmother's back porch. The child inside me moves, flutter kicks and pauses, a soft rising, as if she is rolling over, twirling like a bright leaf in its final flight, but her movements are only beginning. Beneath my feet, the cement poured last summer has captured the shape of maple leaves, flawless in their descent. I touch an imprint with my toe. Daughter, what impressions will you make, I wonder? What will be impressed upon you? A friend once told me, the longer we live, the harder it becomes to decide what to let go of, what to keep. My body rocks slowly, a ship at quiet anchor. What are you thinking, daughter? I ask the wind moving through the oaks. What will you someday keep of me?
Very pretty.
Lovely.
There's a lot of love in that poem.
Yeah, that's the one that's going to be...
Yep.
Oh, that's wonderful. Wow.
Thank you.
So we're going to have a photograph. That'll be something you haven't seen. So.
Exactly, yes. And we can read it again then.
Yes. Rosalie, you're going to be at Rally of Writers, right? Rally of Writers.
I will be at a Rally of Writers.
You're on the planning committee.
I'm on the planning committee, sending out the
So
press
people are
releases.
looking for her. That's a good place to find her. And she's often around town reading, and she's involved with Writing from the Ledges.
I am. That's a writers group I started. It'll be 10 years ago this summer in Grand Ledge. We have a huge group of people that belong to our writing group, and we've published 3 anthologies with a 4th one in the works.
Wow.
Within the next year or 2.
Can you say something about a Rally of Writers? Is it only for people who have published, or is it for...
Not at all.
Okay.
People that are just thinking about writing, and toying around with the ideas in their mind, they might want to come out, sign up for some workshops, listen to some other writers, and sometimes they go home and they start writing and they're back the next year with something published. So it's for published and unpublished writers at all stages. There's a little bit of something for everyone.
And it's right here in our backyard, so you don't have to travel far.
You're going to be on LCC's West Campus, right out here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Very handy. This is LCC Radio WLNZ 89.7 here in Lansing, Michigan. We're talking with Rosalie Petrouska, and she and Bill are busy unfurling
The poster, right?
for
For National Poetry Month. They do a poster every year. Read this for us. It's kind of a combination graphic novel and
It is.
poem.
This is by Mark Strand. It's ink runs from the corners of my mouth. There is no happiness like mine. I have been eating poetry.
Is that Roz Chast? Who did the
Yes.
drawings?
Yes.
Yeah, it
It
is.
is. It is.
Yep,
Yes.
She has she has a distinctive style. We see her in the New Yorker all the time.
I like when poetry are matched with drawings.
So do I. I think it works
Drawings
really well
tell
that
simple
way.
stories too. So.
Or with photographs.
Yep. Which we do.
Which we do. And so if there are photographers out there who would like to donate some photos and send them to Bill Castanier, you can send them to LansingOnline@gmail. And Bill will be able to have a roster of maybe some local photographs that he could put with some
I'd
of
be
the
happy
poems.
to, right?
Yeah, that'd be a very, very nice idea, nice tie-in. We should get more organized next year. Maybe I can organize some photographers to turn in some.
Right.
Yeah,
For
that'd
the
be-
first couple of years, we didn't use any art.
Right, right, and that was probably a mistake because it really is nice to have
Yeah.
an image to go with it.
Plus, it's the way WordPress works.
Well, unfortunately, our
Yeah.
theme does require one, so
Well, yeah,
yes,
regardless
there's a
of
large
photo.
blank.
But yeah, it was perfect, and it's been people have sent art, have sent photos, because many of the photographs you see there are from